Hello, my friend. Welcome to another episode of Voice of the Entrepreneur. Today we have a really special guest with us. He is Faris Khalifeh. He is a quiet leadership coach. He was voted as one of the top 6 coaches in Vancouver. It's really a pleasure for me to welcome him here on the Voice of the Entrepreneur. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's talk to Faris. Faris, thank you so much for taking the time to come here and sit down with me.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. I'm happy to be here.
How are you doing, my friend?
Great. Yeah. Excited to have this conversation with you.
This is great. So Faris, if you can tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, how you do it, and what makes you Faris? What makes you special? What's special about you, Faris?
That's a good question. I'm trying to figure this out by myself. I guess I'm many things, depends on the role I'm doing. What I describe myself as, I'm a minimalist, I'm a pro-feminist, I'm a coach, I'm a passionate connector. I love to connect with people. That's my ultimate passion, and connecting people to each other. And I guess in this context, as an entrepreneur, I'm a quiet leadership coach. So I coach introverts to build on their strength as quiet leaders.
Wow, that's amazing. I think quiet introverts are powerful people that kind of get swept in the background sometimes, and to have that kind of coaching, done with them, I think can really bring out their power. So
exactly, like you said, it's a superpower. Like we have traits. I'm an introvert myself, so. We have traits that can be utilized like in the corporate setting or in the personal setting, which many people don't pay attention to. So I try to bring the attention to these unique natural strengths that we have. Of course, extroverts and introverts, they both have their own traits and strength and challenges as well. So I just bring the attention to the clients on their strength and focus on that and build on it.
Right. You mentioned a little bit about the corporate world, and I know that's the world that you came from as well. Before you became a coach, you were part of the corporate world, and you spent a little bit of time there. So tell us about that part of your life and how it was before, and what made you decide that as an introvert yourself that was not your world, and that you wanted to explore something else.
I used to work in the corporate world, specifically in advertising and marketing, branded content, almost for 15 years. And I was enjoying that world and industry. It has the creative side where I had to use my creativity and artistic side, which I loved, and connecting with people, which I also loved. But however, by time I realized it's draining me because, at that time I didn't know I was an introvert. I knew I'm getting drained and tired most of the time. And I couldn't figure what that is. Now, when I look back, I realize, because I have the introvert personality type. And just to clarify, introvert means a person that get energized when they're by themselves, and their energy get depleted when they're around stimulation. So stimulation could be people, sounds, whatever stimulates the senses. So being in a corporate world, as you know, there's a lot of stimulation in the office, especially open plan offices. People chatting, people talking, frequent meetings, meeting clients. So there's no breaks, I guess. And for someone with that personality type, get overstimulated, and then that manifests in being tired, drained, and there's no energy to show up. So, but at that time, I realized, okay, there's something not going well here. For 15 years, I was fulfilled. I was happy. That was good. But I felt it's time to do something different. I wanted something to connect more with people, because I was working with clients more on a corporate level, on a business level, but not on a one. I didn't see the effect on my contribution on the people. Like I saw it on the brands, on the financial sheets and all that, but not on a personal level. So I thought, okay, I want to do something where I interact with people and see my contribution, like a tangible contribution. So that's when I thought, okay, let me go into coaching, because that was something I was really passionate about since I was probably 16 years old. Self-development, coaching, self-improvement, all that stuff. But I never thought about it as a career. It was a passion of mine. But at that time I thought, okay, let me turn that passion into a career. And that's when I decided to quit my job. And at that time I was living in Dubai. I thought, okay, me and my wife, we were like in the same, I guess, phase in our lives. We thought, okay, let's quit our jobs, leave Dubai and go somewhere new, and with a new career, a new direction. And that's what we did. We moved 3 years ago here to Vancouver, and I studied counseling and coaching. Mm-hmm. And after that, I started my practice.
That's such a wonderful journey. I mean, it's inspiring to hear that because, you mentioned how you decided that you wanted to follow your passion.
Yeah.
And so much of the work that I do and the people that I bring in here, it's a huge thing. Passion. What is passion? Why is passion? Why do we follow that? So I want to ask you, Faris, as a man who has followed his passion, is on that path, what does it really mean, passion, for you? And how do you define that for yourself? And what was that moment like for you when you really felt that, okay, this is really my passion and that now I'm willing to take the risk, and put everything on the line to follow that? How was that like for you?
Yeah, like you said, passion means different for different people. For me, it was, and I know that's a cliche, but I wanted to feel authentic. I'm in my element. I'm not trying to be someone else or trying to be an expert. So I wanted to be myself, and being myself is working with self-development, helping others with their passions, with their flow, what makes them tick. So that's my passion. If I want to put it in words, it would be living a fulfilling, meaningful life and with a flow and ease. And of course, there's obstacles along the way, but in general, to be flowing with what works for you, where you resonate, and when you're aligned with your values. And the switch was risky, for sure, like you said, and it was scary. But I thought it's worth the risk to do something you're passionate about. And I'm happy that I did that move, because now I feel more alive, more fulfilled. So yeah, it's risky, scary. However, I felt the fear and I did it anyway.
Yeah, that's. I think that's so important to understand that you will feel the fear. You will feel, the barriers are in front of you, and something inside is going to stop you. But it is that very step that you take in the direction of your fear that brings you to liberation, emancipation, and a life of purpose. So exactly, I feel pride for people that do that, and I feel pride for you, Faris. So congratulations on that as well. As a former introvert myself, I do, when you were saying that how we have to pursue our passion, right? And that we have the right to really live a life of passion. As a former introvert, sometimes I felt that maybe I didn't have that right, As an extrovert, I'm a lot more inclusive of that. I'm a lot more accepting of that. Yes, I should be living with passion. But introverts can sometimes become a little bit confused, or maybe, not see that as their birthright.
Yeah.
Have you seen that in your experience?
Maybe not in that sense, but probably introverts, I don't want to generalize as well, but they tend to be more reserved. So maybe taking risks is not as easy as for an extrovert. And I'm not a risk taker at the same time. The way I see it is expanding your comfort zone. It's not, how some people say, be fearless. I don't agree with that, because you need to feel the fear, and fear is okay. Just acknowledge it and do it, like we said. And the other piece is, we don't have to step out of our comfort zone in extreme way. Like, we can just start expanding and stretching our comfort zone. And by stretching, we're growing, and we're moving away from that comfort zone. So probably what I would say to someone a bit reserved is to start stretching, suggest to stretch their comfort zone slowly. And by that time, they do that, without noticing, they already moved all this, way to outside their comfort zone. Right.
So it's about stretching your comfort zone. It's about taking those little actions and continuing in the direction of stretching your comfort zone. Right.
And it's, I guess before doing that is to figure out what's your passion. So that requires probably reflection. Some people, it comes naturally to them. They know exactly what they're passionate about. And some probably they need time to reflect and examine their lives. And there's ways to look at that. Maybe examining your values, your beliefs, what do you stand for. There's many things, exercises like that can help you in identifying your passion. And the passion could be multiple things. It doesn't have to be one thing. Sometimes it puts pressure on people when they think they have to figure out that one passion. It could be multiple passions. And passion change also for some people sometimes. like what I was passionate about probably 10 years ago, it's slightly different than what I'm passionate about right now. So.
Absolutely. I think that point is such a crucial point because sometimes passion becomes this, you're in a coal mine digging through the coal for that one diamond and you have to find that diamond and that's when you're going to be rich. I think that's what passion, a lot of people, it's seen that way. But I agree. I don't think it's that way. I think it's in many ways, it's really about many different things that you can do. So great point there, Faris. For someone watching who may not know what an introvert looks like, what an extrovert looks like, and again, I'm thinking that you're taking introverts out of their comfort zone, so you're taking them in a direction of being a little bit more extroverted. Can you talk a little bit about what the difference is and what your process is like from taking them from that place?
Yeah, sure. Just to clarify, I don't I don't have an intention of getting an introvert out of their sweet spot or make them extrovert. That's one strategy and some people follow that. I don't do that. What I try to do is build on the strength that you already have. Because if you try to be an extrovert, it's not authentic, it's not you. So there might be a challenge or struggle to be someone you're not, and that will deplete your energy. So what I'd rather do is just focus on what introverts or extroverts are good at and focus on that. So for example, introverts, and generalizing again, these are the common traits. So one is they're very good listeners. So when they listen, they're very empathetic. They're focusing with you. They're not just listening to reply. They're authentically listening. I'm not saying extroverts, they don't, but I mean, for introverts, it's very natural and very, they're good at that. So, listening skills. That comes with asking questions, asking powerful questions, curiosity, maybe the calmness also, that's a strength, especially if you're in a business environment where sometimes business get to be chaotic or there's deadlines and all that. So as a leader or as an introvert, to be calm and composed, that's good. And also it gives calmness to the whole team as well. So it's a bit contagious when they look at a leader and they see that person is calm in these situations. So there's many other traits, but these, let's say, specifically these, will focus on these. How can you build on your listening skills? How can you utilize that?
Right.
So when you meet with clients, so let's say in a sales environment, sometimes in the first thing with sales, you need to talk and be bold and, very alpha or all that. You don't have to, as an introvert, you can still be soft-spoken, listen, connect with the person on a very genuine level, understand their pain, understand their challenges. And then once you understand that you can then contribute with whatever you want to share with them. So utilize those skills. For an extrovert, it's the other way around. So they think on their feet, they like to be in stimulating environments. So I encourage them to be in those environments. They want to speak out loud, to process information, speak out loud. So extroverts, do your thing, introverts, do your thing. But the key is to understand each other. So if part of the work I do, I work also with organizations on how to close the communication gap between extroverts and introverts in the business setting. It's to understand each other. So as an extrovert, understand what are their traits, what they're good at, and introverts understand that, and also understand how they can communicate with each other. So, for example, an extrovert, I tell them to be patient with introverts. They need time to think. So give them time to think, or be comfortable with the pauses. Usually they pause a bit because they're processing the information. Right. So stuff like that. And vice versa. I tell the introverts, okay, extroverts, they need to speak out loud. So be open to that, accepting that they need to speak out loud. They need to be all the other stuff. So it's understanding each personality type. It's key in my opinion.
Nice. That's great. And the process, I guess, to work with introverts or extroverts. Well, what's the process like? Because maybe sometimes they can come in and say, I don't like being an introvert because I don't get the success that, that the world says I should have, right? So what's the process of you making them feel comfortable with who they are?
Most don't really, the ones that I was exposed to, they don't really understand what introversion means. So when I explain to them all that and the biology and how their wiring, their nervous system is different, and go from that angle and explain about the energy piece. It's not about shyness, because many think introversion is about being shy, and they have nothing to do with each other from a scientific point of view. Shyness is about fear of negative judgment. Introversion is about which energy you prefer, more stimulus or less stimulus. So they're different. There's other differences as well. So that's one. I explain what that means. And most of the time when I explain that piece alone, they immediately have a different perspective of introversion, extroversion, because all their life they thought it's a negative thing, it's a shyness, it's antisocial. Then realize it's not about that. And then we talk about the common traits and see which one they resonate with. Sometimes I give them an assessment tool. So they do the assessment online, and it gives them an indication where they fall on the spectrum. Because extroversion, introversion is a spectrum. It's not extreme, either this or that. So that helps them. And then I take them through these traits and what came up from that assessment and all that. And then I work with them on that basis. So let's capitalize on that. Let's not focus on that. And a bit of stretching the comfort zone, maybe. Stretching, but not too extreme.
Not too extreme. That sounds like a really thought out process where you're taking somebody's strength and capitalizing on that.
Yeah.
I think that's really what coaching is really all about.
Yeah.
And as I hear you say this, I'm thinking, I do have introvert traits and I do have extrovert traits. So is it possible for people to have both of these traits and live harmoniously?
Yeah, of course, because it's a spectrum. So it's not like you're either here or there. You might be somewhere in the middle. And most of the population, they're somewhere either on that side of the spectrum in the middle part of introversion or the other part of extroversion, but more or less in the middle area. So you could have those. And as an extrovert, you can tap into the introvert energy and vice versa. So as an introvert, what's my sweet spot? Probably have solitude time in quiet places. However, at the same time, I do many workshops and I teach at different institutions and I do all the other stuff that probably stimulates me and all that. It's fine. It's not like I can't go into that energy. I can, however, to be mindful that that might deplete my energy further. So as long as I'm aware of that, so for example, let's say I have a 1-day workshop. So I know now I'm going into that energy and that going to deplete me. However, then I plan the next day to do nothing, for example, or rest the morning. So as long as I keep in mind where my energy is going up and down, and the way I see it is it's all about energy management. So as long as I'm managing my energy, and not just an introvert, if they manage their energy well, then it works fine. It's just the awareness and being very mindful of what depletes, what energizes, and try throughout the day to do both. So have a meeting, you're a bit depleted, 15 minutes, sit in your office, probably meditate, sit in a quiet place, your energy is back up, go meet another person, etc., something like that.
Wow, so it's really about managing your energy and being aware of it and knowing that it's going to get depleted in a situation versus it's going to get up in another situation, and then managing those two situations. And that's a great tool to have, right? Because for people, when they are in a situation where their energy is becoming depleted, they tend to get stuck in that and, run out of all the energy. So being aware of that and then switching back to a place where energy can be re-energized, I think that's a great tool to have. Faris. Totally agree. You're a coach and a successful coach, but you're also an entrepreneur. And I think every coach is an entrepreneur to some extent. Tell us a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. I mean, how have you come from a different place? You've recently moved to Vancouver. How have you established yourself here? What have been your challenges, your wins, your losses? Something about that. Yeah.
Cool. So as an entrepreneur, it's a different mindset for sure, different lifestyle. And from the clients that I've been seeing, I realized when they switch and become coaches, counselors, yoga instructors, any kind of solopreneur, it hits them later, and it hit me later, is we assume that because we're good at something, like let's say I'm a great yoga teacher, for example, then I can have a successful business. But the missing piece is the business aspect. So how to run a company, how to market yourself. So that's a challenge for many solopreneurs if they don't have the business background.
Sure.
I think I was lucky because I have the business background. So coaching, I managed to combine both. So for me, it was adjusting and tweaking what I learned in the business world on a bigger scale, implemented to a individual or a solopreneur level. So I utilized the branding I was doing for maybe big Fortune 500 companies as brands. I took the same philosophy and implemented it on a personal level. Like, how can I present myself as an authentic brand? Not any brand, of course. What's how I want to show up? Again, like authentically, genuinely. So I use those elements from design, from colors, from all this stuff, and implement it to myself. Same with I did like the same concept of creating a business plan for a big corporation. Same for myself. What's my vision? What's my purpose? What are the services, the pricing, and all that. So it was an interesting journey, and it was difficult. I'm not saying it's an easy. It requires work, consistency, and juggling both. I guess the coaching stuff and at the same time running a business. So it's a combination of both.
It's a combination of both. I completely agree. I mean, if you have a skill that you're really good at, but if you can't market it, if you can't bring it to market, who's going to buy it from you, right? And I think that goes in the business world. When you have a great product that's sitting on the shelf, it'll sit on the shelf until you market it and bring it out to people. So that is definitely the missing link. And I think people have to be trained in that in some extent. And I believe you do that as part of your coaching, right? Tell us a little bit about how you train solopreneurs to explore that and to become successful or to get success.
Sure. So, aside from doing the quiet leadership, working with introverts, I also work with solopreneurs to, I don't like to use the term personal branding because it seems very superficial, but it's kind of personal branding, but in a very authentic way. So I take them through a 4-step formula, which I just created by trial and error. Number one, I start with the first step, which is uncover. So who they really are, what's their vision, what's their why they want to start this business. Because sometimes people they want to start a business just because they like the idea. But so I just go deeper with them, like why you want to start this business, why you want to become a coach. So try to uncover all these, and most importantly, the values. What are your values? So once that's clear, they have a better understanding of who they are. Then that's a very coachy piece. And then we go to the second step, which is create. Now it becomes more of I become more of a coach / consultant. So we create like a business plan based on what they uncovered. So their vision, mission, and their pricing and all the other business elements. But I do it in a very simplified way because they're solopreneurs. It doesn't have to be like 10 pages business plan. I have like a 1-page, very solid template that they fill out and all that. Once that's clear, we go to the third step, which is communicate. So now you have the business plan. You really know your values, your why, all that, how you want to market yourself. So I talk about offline, how you market yourself offline, and we talk about networking and other stuff you can do offline. And then online, how to position yourself and how to create a website. I don't go into the technicalities, but I go on the user experience, the aesthetics, the colors, and the content and stuff like that. And then social media. Depends what kind of social platform they want to use. Maybe not all of them, maybe one of them, maybe none. So we examine that. And once we identify which social media channels, I help them create effective ones, setting them up. And the fourth step is maintenance. So once you launched and you market yourself, how to maintain that. It's an ongoing process. Tweaks, feedback, what's working, what's not working, and stuff like that. So that's more or less, in a nutshell, what I do with that.
Very well explained, very well put into a nutshell. It's a long process. And there are definitive steps that go into this. So totally, I think your help with that and, that solopreneurs get from you must be invaluable. I can't even imagine.
I hope,
Right. Faris, you're pretty well known in the community here in Vancouver. You're a successful coach. Someone that's watching, looking at you saying, Faris did it. He's this, this person who believed in himself and he went out there and he got it. What would be your advice for somebody that's a few years behind you and is thinking about that same process and wants to be successful, but is a little bit afraid and is just looking for the right advice or maybe the right words to move them in that direction? What would you tell them?
It's gonna sound super cliche, but I really believe in following your gut. So if you feel something is not right, you're not satisfied with your job, or there's something telling you, I want to start this, I want to be a coach, I want to be whatever, a musician, whatever that is, just follow your gut and do it. However, I know that might be, if you want to go more on a practical level, maybe strategize how to do it, because some people immediately quit and then they end up like in a challenge. And it's for people it works, some doesn't. But to be safe, maybe strategize. See what's your plan for the next year, how you want to do it strategically, and go for it, because you have nothing to lose. Worst case scenario, and that's what I told myself when I quit my job. Worst case scenario, which I hope it doesn't happen, then you can go back to that job or whatever you were doing. But if you don't try and put yourself out there, you might be missing on something incredible. So just do it, I guess, and small steps. It doesn't have to be like from day one, you're going to be success and all that. And it depends what success means, but I mean, small steps and day by day perseverance and, yeah.
You know, Faris, I ask this question to all the entrepreneurs that I bring, and I hear the same thing most of the time, because it's really that. It's following your gut, doing step by step, and those little steps one at a time, and just really going out there to do it.
Yeah.
It sounds simple, but these are words of wisdom, literally, for somebody that's done it and then can tell other people. So thank you so much, Faris, for coming out, for sitting with me and having this amazing, wonderful, candid conversation. I truly got to learn a lot from you as well. So thank you so much for coming out, Faris. Appreciate it. Guys, it is such an honor always to sit down with these amazing personalities. I can't even tell you, the more I do it, the more blessed I feel. I always say, if you want success, then it's really about those little steps. And all entrepreneurs say the same thing because it really works for them. It's about taking those little steps and going after them and just looking at success on, incremental steps. And that's when it happened. If you're an introvert or an extrovert, it doesn't matter. You need to capitalize on your strengths and what you already have. And really looking at yourself as that person that can take your skill set to another level because of what you already have. So until I see you again next time, have a great one, my friend.